7:08. You're on WRVA and Richmond's Morning News. Better living through chemicals. Where have I heard that before? Great old movie line is what it is. Actually, chemicals are on our mind this morning because Congress is considering legislation to more tightly regulate chemical safety. And, of course, we have some rather well-known companies, including DuPont and Honeywell, located here in Virginia, may have some impact on them. Here to discuss it with us is the Executive Director of the Coalition for Chemical Safety, Joe Householder. Hey, Joe.
Morning.
What kind of changes are we looking at here? What is Congress considering regulating or more tightly regulating that they don't already regulate?
Well, Congress is, and a bill has not yet been introduced, so we don't have specifics, but we expect one soon. But Congress is considering what we at the Coalition believe is long overdue in many ways, which is a rewrite, a reform of a law that's known as the Toxic Substances Control Act.
That goes back to, 1978 or thereabouts?
76.
Okay.
So the law is well in excess of 30 years of age. And, in the last 30 years, think about the computer you might have used in 1976. It was as big as your house. And science has advanced significantly, so now it's, as small as your thumb. And chemical science has advanced that much too, and the ability of the law to keep up with the science hasn't really changed. So it is time to rewrite the law.
Okay, is this about encouraging more, if you will, green chemicals than what we currently have?
Well, it depends, and that's where the Coalition for Chemical Safety and organizations like it come in. I mean, we take the view that you can and should revise the Toxic Substances Control Act so it increases consumer safety, but so that it also provides for the kind of innovation that leads to green chemistry and protects the jobs here in this country that do that kind of work. We don't want to send them all over to China. I mean, let me give you a kind of a local example, Jimmy. There was a story, I guess, yesterday, MWV, moving into its downtown headquarters. They'd moved to Richmond from Stamford, Connecticut. They do all sorts of innovative chemical work along with their paperwork. And a properly revised TSCA will encourage them to continue doing that work, which encourages them to continue employing the 700 people they're moving into downtown Richmond, but also will make sure that folks who consume those chemicals in various ways are safe.
I'm guessing that there probably are some chemicals on your hit list. Ones that you think it's time that are phased out at least over some sort of a fairly fair time frame?
Actually, no. I mean, not as far as the Coalition for Chemical Safety is concerned. We don't want to get into product-specific fights because we think some of those fights on specific products will be resolved if TSCA is done, and that's sort of the short form of Toxic Substances Control Act. TSCA is reformed in the right way. What we want the EPA to have the authority to do is to make safety determinations for chemicals. So if a chemical is safe for its intended use, and I can describe that in further detail, then it should be given a blessing. If it is not safe the way it is marketed for its intended use, then the EPA should have the authority to restrict that chemical to other uses. Let me give you an example. Because there is a semiconductor industry in Richmond too. Micron Technologies makes the chips that go in our computers. Semiconductors are made with a chemical called gallium arsenide. You drink this stuff, you'd probably choke. So if one of its intended uses was, put it in Kool-Aid, EPA should have the authority to restrict that. But in making microchips, gallium arsenide is perfectly safe. So Micron Technology should be able to continue using the chemical in that way under a properly reformed TSCA.
Okay. All right. I guess I get a little nervous right now when we talk about the Environmental Protection Agency, only because they have labeled now CO2 as something that is deadly to the planet and potentially harmful to human beings. And, of course, in some ways, that can be true. In other ways, we all emit CO2. You and I are still breathing as of this morning. So it kind of makes me wonder how much power we want to give or can give or should give the EPA to making these types of decisions.
Well, and that's where you get into sort of the sausage making of the legislative process, and why organizations like the Coalition for Chemical Safety need to exist, because we need consumers, we need businesses, we need community leaders to set the rails for the discussion on how you revise laws like TSCA and exactly what authority you give the EPA. Right now, though, the EPA doesn't have sufficient authority to absolutely ensure that we're safe, nor does it have the authority to absolutely ensure that innovation in this country is promoted over innovation in China, where companies could very easily move if we get this wrong.
All right, Joe, good to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Joe Householder, by the way, one of Joe's jobs in the past, in addition to working for the Coalition for Chemical Safety, is he's a former communications director for United States Senator Hillary Clinton.